Okay, so here we are, Bedford Rugby Club. I've only been in the ground maybe 2 minutes. I've already had a couple of handshakes and a couple of smiles off people. And there's loads of kids in here, there's loads of families in here, everyone's smiling. It's like a real kind of carnival day out. You wouldn't really get this kind of sense of mingling, I don't think, at the football. I'm also a fan, I think, of this this notion of the players wandering in and out of the supporters. You wouldn't really get that at football, really. The players kind of pretty much stay behind the line. You don't get players kind of wandering through. And also, I think there's an element of kind of community focus in that, and I quite like that.
That's as much chanting as you'll ever get at rugby. Just that one word. Oh, and a bit of cheeks from the Exeter.
What's the story with that not booing thing?
That not booing thing is a very English and rugby quality, very middle class kind of quality, I would say.
It's a nonsense, isn't it? Don't you want to boo?
It's not a nonsense at all, no. I think it's quite a...
It's about winning, isn't it? Isn't the thing about winning?
No, it's about a good game of rugby and having a good afternoon out in the sunshine in Bedford.
Gervais, think about the rules here. The rules are quite complicated, aren't they?
The rules are very complicated. It's not about the rules at all. It's about having a good day out and seeing your team hopefully win.
Scott, the rules here, I'm confused by them.
Absolutely crystal clear. We don't know, I'm not going to explain them to you. Oh.
Yeah. Well, Exeter are fully professional, so you'd expect them, in theory, to be fitter. So the fact that they'll be playing down the hill in the second half, with the sun at their backs rather than in their eyes, if Bedford aren't ahead at half time, we're in trouble.
So I had a couple of texts in so far. One from my mate Dave, telling me that I need to put on a bit of a middle class accent if I'm going to be at the rugby. One from my mate Phil, telling me I need a couple of more beers really. And one from Tasha, telling me that how much I need to kind of engage and enjoy the game. I think that there's something in that really. This feels like a bit of a carnival atmosphere really. It's a bit like we're all at the village fete and everything's lovely and we're all having a few beers and enjoying ourselves, but I'm not sure it's tribal enough for me at the moment really. It's quite interesting and all, but I'm not sure that just at the moment there's enough sense of belonging, you know? So Gervais, thoughts?
Thought it's a brilliant first half from Bedford.
Why?
Because we're ahead against Exeter, which is a ridiculous state of affairs really. So I'm really pleased.
Scott, Rotherham Scott, thoughts on the first half?
Brilliant.
Why?
Tries, kicks, scrums.
Catherine, thoughts on the first half?
Very good. We were worried for a bit there, but it's turning out well. So.
Why were we worried?
Gervais was worried, I was worried.
What's all that?
For the long-term future of the club, Autoglass renewing their sponsorship of the Blues is more important than Bedford beating Exeter.
Why?
Because financial security is more important than results in a league that actually, to be honest, doesn't matter a huge amount.
Why?
Because whoever comes down from the Premiership will virtually always be promoted back up. But securing rugby at this level is what Bedford is all about.
Okay, so I find this a bit of a sort of a confusing game really. I kind of feel like I've muscled in almost on a game in a park really, almost carnival atmosphere. I don't feel that there's the same tempo to the game, the same relentlessness to the game that you get at football. I certainly don't feel like this is a game where there's a kind of an attacking tempo. So much of the game is kind of broken up really. So much of the game is stop-start. There's no flow, and people are enjoying themselves. They're kind of kicking in and kind of having a chat with their mates about love and life. But I almost feel like we're lacking almost a sense of uplifting energy really, and I think that's what I'm missing here. Exeter have just equalised 23-23. Doesn't do anyone any favours other than Leeds apparently, who play tomorrow. I was asking Gervais how he felt about that, and he said, well, it's a bit of a memorable occasion really, rugby, rather than necessarily an important game. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Exeter have just got a penalty in front of the posts, and which they've scored in fact, and that will probably take them top of the table. And the Bedford fans don't really care. Well, they appear like they don't, you know what I mean? It's not really life and death. Maybe it's because they've got lower expectations, but I feel kind of confused about it all really. Okay, there goes Gervais. He's after the curry house, which is always a nice end to the day. I've had a text from Dilwyn, who's informed me that rugby is a piss poor spectacle live, but a nice place to meet old school chums, which is quite an interesting one, really. I found out that Walsall have won today, 2-1. They've beaten Hereford. Hereford? They haven't really. They've beaten Carlisle. And I've had too many beers. And I feel quite pleased, really. I'm quite looking forward to next week. I'm looking forward to going to Hereford and seeing what I make of that compared to today, because I'm kind of struggling with the fact that people kind of have almost treated it like a hobby. I want my emotional involvement, my sense of sort of belonging, really, on a Saturday to count for something. So what have I learned about rugby today?
That extra time means nothing to the real world of time. That Bedford obviously should have won, but we know that Exeter were a better side.
Seriously, do you want coffee?
Yeah. That coffee is an alien drink in any working man's club, regardless of what part of the world that you're in.
Gervais, what have I learned today?
You've learned today that Exeter are rightfully a better team than Bedford, but that Bedford had a good turnout and a good performance against one of the fully professional sides in Division 1, and they're rightfully up there in the top 4 or 5 in the league.
But it's just a hobby for you, isn't it? It's just a hobby. That's all it is.
I'm not upset about today. I think Bedford did themselves proud in every way.
So I think I was a bit dismissive of Gervais's love of Bedford yesterday, Gervais and Tim. I kind of regarded my experience yesterday as watching people kind of going about their hobby, really. And I know full well that Tim and Gervais follow Bedford up and down the country, and just how much it means to them. Rugby to me is a very prosaic game, really. Not a lot of poetry in it, I don't think. You certainly don't get those poetic moments that I think you can get within football. It offers more than the staccato rhythms of rugby. Both Gervais and Tim really have shown a kind of a quiet, more contemplative engagement with rugby, really. I think that the fact that neither appeared gutted at the end when they lost in the last minute is not necessarily indicative of the fact that they weren't hacked off. But I think the one thing that I have learned really is I think I'll go back to the rugby, but it isn't my game.